He turned back to his work. Where was this mound of supplies to go? An untidy package yielded, beneath its waterproof wrappings, a dozen plum puddings that brought him near to tears. Each time he arranged part of the hold, more of these parcels appeared, a crate of damson plums in syrup from an old woman in Conshohocken who'd read about their voyage in the newspaper and wanted to contribute her bit, a case of brandy from a Wilmington banker, volumes of Thackeray from a schoolmaster in Doylestown, heaps of hand-knitted socks. His hands bristled with lists, each only partly checked off. Never mind those puddings, he thought. Where were the last 200 pounds of pemmican? How had half the meat biscuit been stowed with the candles and the lamp oil? And where were the last members of the crew? In his pocket he had another list, the final roster. Zechariah Voorhees, commander. Colin Talbot, first officer. Jan Boerhaave, surgeon. Amos Tyler, sailing master. George Francis, second officer. Erasmus D. Wells, naturalist. Frederick Schüssler, cook. Thomas Forbes, carpenter. Seamen: Isaac Bond, Niels Jensen, Robert Carey, Barton de Souza, Ivan Hrushka, Fletcher Lamb, Sean Hamilton. 15 of them, all hands counted. Captain Tyler, Mr. Talbot, and Mr. Francis, who together would have charge of the ship's daily operations, were experienced whaling men. Dr. Boerhaave had a medical degree from Edinburgh. Schüssler had been cook for a New York packet line. Forbes was an Ohio farm boy who'd never been to sea, but who could fashion anything from a few odd scraps of wood. Of the 7 unevenly trained seamen, Bond had reported for duty drunk, and Hrushka and Hamilton were still missing. Their companions, invisible in the hold, waited for directions. Waited, Erasmus feared, for him to fail. He was 40 years old, and had a history of failure. He'd sailed, when hardly more than a boy, on a voyage so thwarted it became a national joke. Since then his life's work had come to almost nothing. No wife, no children, no truly close friends. A sister in a difficult situation. What he had now was this pile of goods and a second chance. Still pondering the puddings, he heard laughter and looked up to see Zeke hanging from the rigging like a flag. His long arms were stretched above a thatch of golden hair. As he laughed, his teeth were gleaming in his mouth. He was 26, and made Erasmus feel like a fossil. Everything about this moment was tied to Zeke. The hermaphrodite brig about to become their home had once been part of Zeke's family's packet line. With his father's money, Zeke had ordered oak sheathing spiked to her sides as protection against the ice, iron plates wrapped around her bows, tarred felt layered between the double-planked decks. In charge of the expedition, and hence Erasmus reminded himself of him, Zeke had chosen Erasmus to gather the equipment and stores surrounding him now in such bewildering heaps. Where was all this to go? Salt beef and pork and barrels of malt, knives and needles for barter with the Eskimaux, guns and ammunition, coal and wood, tents and cooking lamps and woolen clothing, buffalo skins, a library, enough wooden boards to house over the deck in an emergency. And what about the spirit thermometers, or the 4 chronometers, the microscope, and all the stores for his specimens, spirits of wine, loose gauze, pre-numbered labels in glass jars, arsenical soap for preserving bird skins, camphor and pill boxes for preserving insects, dissecting scissors, watch glasses, pins, string, glass tubes and sealing wax, bungs and soaked bladders, brain hooks and blowpipes and egg drills, a sweeping net, too many things. Erasmus stroked the wolf skins his youngest brother had sent from the Utah mountains. Just then he would have given anything for an hour's conversation with Copernicus, who understood what it meant to leave a life. But Copernicus was gone, still, again. And the wolfskins were handsome, but where would they fit? The sledges, specially constructed after Zeke's own design, had arrived 2 weeks late and wouldn't fit into the space Erasmus had planned for them. And he couldn't arrange